Hey, everybody, welcome to the 2 Degrees Podcast, brought to you by the Play On Foundation. And today's guests is this is going to be a podcast first because we typically just go one-on-one with somebody, and I bring you 2 degrees closer to somebody. But my guest is going to bring me 2 degrees closer to someone on her end. So my guest is definitely the reason why Maid did so well in the Emmys and at obviously like all of the award shows because her role is so pivotal. But Jessie Liang. Hi, Jessie.
How's it going?
It's going fine on my end. Tell me, who is your guest today?
My guest is the Royal Highness, my best friend, also known as Didi Lecrae's in drag, also podcast host, co-host that we hosted. I've been thinking for a couple of episodes or a handful, like 6 months of it. Jarred Stephen Meek.
Hello, c'est moi.
So not only are we doing something out of the ordinary by having another person within this, but we're also going to smoke up, and we've been doing that a couple times so far. So because my computer decided to start on this, I'm excited for this. So here's
I took an edible before I left, so mine's already kicked in. So I'm ready.
You're ready. Amazing. Well, let's start with how's the day? How's everything going?
Oh, Jared's been having a day today.
She's had a great day. I've had
day.
not such a great day.
What made your day not so great, Jared?
I was shortlisted for a film with a company I will not name.
Does it rhyme with Netflix?
No, actually,
Okay.
It doesn't. It rhymes with Poshmark.
Gotcha. You know those.
In fact, very close.
Oh man.
I was shortlisted for a principal role in a film, and it would have been the best. And I found out today that I didn't get it. So that started my day. And I was like, no, I was like banking on this. It would have been my first booking in quite some time and a principal role. And we were all just like, if I'm shortlisted for this, I got to get it. I didn't get it. I was like, come on, it's Aries season.
Aries season.
And it's my birthday on Saturday.
Yeah.
What? This
should have been a universe's birthday gift, but no.
No, watch though. What I will book is the thing that I did yesterday where I had to go and let them take pictures of my dad bod.
Hey, but commercials pay better.
It's true. I literally had to just go in yesterday and take off my shirt and let them take pictures of me. And I was like, good thing I just finished watching Lizzo's Big Girls because I'm feeling a little bit more confident about my body now.
Well, even with that, like dad bods are in. I don't know about you.
I know, apparently.
They are. Dad bods,
in the industry,
dad jokes.
Dad bods, yeah. Dad jokes have always been it.
Yeah. I literally had to go in and select which body type I fit the best. And I was like, well, if I select that dad bod, I don't got to suck in or anything at least. I'm just going to show up and be me.
Yeah. Oh my goodness. So
yeah,
because you feel a little gutted on not landing this, I guess whoever wants to go first or whoever wants to think more on it, but within our industry, we suffer so much rejection. So what keeps you guys going? What is the strength and driving force that will keep you in the industry regardless of Poshmark casting you or not?
Well, they did respond and they said, we do want you to know that you were very close and we really like the work that you're doing. And so, I gave myself a bit of time to feel bad about it and to be upset about it. And then I just was like, whatever. That was the second time that's happened with the same company. And third time will be the charm. And so I allowed myself to feel it for a bit. And now that the edibles kicked in, I'm fine.
Yeah, that's what the edibles are for.
Yeah, just get sad about it if you want, and then you move on to the next. My mom gets more sad than I do, so she doesn't get it.
What's the drive though? Like, so how do you, or I guess how have you learned to cope with the rejection so you can go on and face another day?
I just don't take it personally. Like I know for a fact that I did a good job. on this audition in particular.
Yeah.
And it probably has something to do with what I look like with the rest of the people that have been casted, how the group looks, or, you know, somebody else did one other offer that was different and they liked that. I just know that it's not personal. And, you know, sometimes you can take it personally, but then, like I said, you just brush it off and move on to the next.
Did you always know not to take it personally, or was
Oh
there a
God,
phase?
no. No, that was a journey.
Jesse,
But
what about you?
yeah.
Well, I like to reframe the concept of rejection. To me, it doesn't feel like rejection. It just feels like, you know, we have to, as actors and just anyone in the industry, whatever it is that you're doing, if it's a commercial or a play or whatever, it's about what is best for the project and not necessarily who is the best.
Yeah.
Yeah, so it's not like I feel like it's not necessarily a competition. The only competition is you with yourself. And so if you know that you went in and had a good audition and you didn't leave anything on the table, then that's all you had to do. And I don't see it so much as rejection. I just see it as like, if I am not the best person for this project, then that's what is best for the project. And so it has nothing to do with me. But I mean, obviously it's hard when there's a role that you really wanted, or if you haven't booked something in a while and you're feeling a little bit insecure, then definitely Jarred just raised his hands for people who are listening. Yeah. So if you're, you know, if you're going kind of through a dry spell, for sure, it can be so heartbreaking. Especially when you know that you were close. Like if you were shortlisted for something last year, I think I was shortlisted for 6 commercials and they all let me go. And I was just like, what is, and I hadn't booked anything in over 6 months. And I was like, what is happening? Like, I can't even book a stupid commercial where it's not even about your skills. It's literally about what you look like.
Yeah.
But yeah, it's just one of those things. Like you just have to keep working on you.
Well, and then there's like, I mean, we both, because we are graduates of Studio 58, and I'm really grateful for that training because they teach you a variety of different things so that when you're not working in one field, you can be working in the other. So like right now, I'm not really booking film and TV. So I'm getting back out and auditioning for theater because that's opening up again.
Nice.
And I've returned to doing drag. I had my first drag show a couple weeks ago in 2 years. And like, I get the
inviting me to that, but I was out of town. Tell me about that.
Oh yeah. I get the exact same feeling from doing a drag show that I would with like booking a part, because it's that same, it's just another form of artistic expression that gives you that feeling. And it's even more so, I think, with drag, because you're literally performing for a live audience. You really don't get like to see what you've done or to understand what you've done in film until you really watch the product back like a year later, maybe. Whereas like I walked away with $130 cash. I knew how I did.
Well done. Nice.
Yeah, it was awesome. I mean, I'd done a few things in the pandemic, like online. I also did a short film in drag, which was my first time acting in drag. That was a fun experience because I have an entirely different face on that I have to get used to in terms of like how I'm subtly emoting and whatnot. But I did that, but I haven't done like a live drag show since before the pandemic. So it was incredible. Jessie helped me and our other friend Alana. We stoned an entire outfit and we made it all ourselves. And I rehearsed for like 3 weeks to do like a 3-minute number, but I killed it.
Yeah.
So yeah, I just keep myself busy, really. You
That's
know?
what
is that
has to
able for
keep
people
you
to see that?
Yeah, I posted that video on my Instagram. I have a drag Instagram, which is Dee Lacraze. DEE Lacraze. But yeah, I posted that. And then the short film is going to be coming out in the fall. It was meant to come out in the spring originally, but it's been what's the word?
Postpone.
That's the one. Push back a bit. And that'll be coming out in the fall though. And it stars Kendall Jenner, who was just on season 2 of Canada's Drag Race. So it's pretty cool.
Wow. Congratulations with that.
And that's how you keep it going. It's because then you use all of that energy of like, instead of, I'm not booking, blah, 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 instead of feeling like sulking. You can sulk, obviously, but then you take that energy and then you put it on stuff that you actually like to do.
And writing, we both write.
Yeah, so yeah, exactly. Like last year when I wasn't booking anything, I was like, fuck it, you know what I'm gonna do? I'm gonna write a play. So I did. Yeah, and then opportunities came from this new play that I wrote. So stuff like that.
And then tell us about a time or how, like, when was the learning point? Because I know for me personally, and other actors have shared, where it's like it wasn't always that easy. Even though that was a lesson, it was something that you kind of had to grow out of. because you do invest time in it, and all of a sudden you attach yourself to it, and then when you don't get it, now it's personal. You're like, what the fuck? I did whatever. So it's like, what was that time of your acting journey like when you couldn't let it go? How did you get over it?
There might be, there are lessons in life that you have to learn over and over again. And I feel like this is one of them, like the letting go. It's like, yeah, you can learn to let go of like, oh, not booking a commercial, but then you get close to booking an MLW. And then it's like, that would be a bigger role, like an actual credit. And then you don't get that one. And then you have to learn how to deal with losing something bigger. And then, for example, last year I got a callback and another, like 2 callbacks, and I was shortlisted for this huge franchise. And it was like the showrunner was very like, Jessie is our girl kind of thing. And we kept going back and forth. It has spaceships and aliens in it.
What?
That's all I'm gonna say.
Fine.
And there's like, it's been around for many, many decades. Has
TV I
shows,
can't do it, but
yeah.
Gotcha.
It has TV shows and movies.
Yeah.
Anyway, so yeah, that was the one that like hurt a lot last year because it's like a huge thing, and it was so clear that they really, really liked me. But then in the end, at some point after a couple of weeks, they kind of started disappearing on my agent, and then they were like, okay, we checked in with them. We're like, do you guys still want to move along with this? And they're like, ooh, we actually went with someone more famous than you. And I was like, oh, but that I can't control.
They just ghost you guys for a second, and it's like, yeah, we no longer want them, so we're not going to answer any of their emails.
And that's how the industry is. It's like, if they want you, but then if they don't want you, then it's just silence. And it's so hard to deal with that. And that was one of those, I was like, okay, here we go. We're learning that lesson again of like, how do you let go of something that was even bigger and more exciting, and you were actually really close this time, and the reason is completely out of your control. Like, it's the whole, you have to be famous to get certain roles, but then how do you get the role if you're not famous? And it just it's like that catch-22. So to me, it was just like a lot of, again, just being like, you know what, just focus all of this disappointment and whatever with other things that you like. So definitely focus on self-care, and then reaching out to your community and your friends and all of that stuff, because in the end, it's like, I know that I'm talented. I know that I can do a good job, and I know what I'm capable of as an actor. So
we've talked a lot with like our friends too about having a good agent, because like we are lucky we have the same agent, which also helps us too, because we understand how our agent communicates and all of that. So we can go to each other all the time. Like our agent is part of a smaller agency, so like having a boutique agency is helpful because we actually have personal relationships with our agent, whereas like I have friends who have had agents for like 6 years that they've never spoken to. And I'm like, what? Whoa. That's crazy. I talk to my agent all the time. Today, when I didn't book that part, he was like giving me, just not even like advice or feedback. It was just like, don't worry, like you're on the right track. It's all about building these connections and relationships. And you're doing that. Because this is the second time that this casting director has pointed out that she liked my work, even though I didn't get the part. So having him to be able to give me that kind of feedback is so helpful, because that immediately like makes me know that I'm doing a good job. And then I think, like, I don't know when it turned for me, but like, there's always the days where you get down about it, like today, but like, I allow myself that time. But then it's whenever I have to explain it to my mom is when like, I really realize that like, it's not personal, because I get it now because she doesn't get it. And I try so hard to explain it to her. And and she just still doesn't quite get it. Like today she was like, oh, again. And I'm like, yeah, again, that's how it works. And I know that every time I tell you again, you're getting like more sad than I am. So at least I know that I'm dealing with it the way that I'm supposed to, because I don't care anymore. And she does. So I have her to compare myself to.
That's funny. Oh, man.
Because she also sees, like I don't compare myself to my friends anymore, because there's no point in doing that. I'm not going out for the same roles that Jessie's going out for.
Really?
So
you need to change your agent then. That's
what the heck?
So my mom like sees Jessie being so successful, and then sees me like not doing as much. And it's like, she's better in that sense. Like she's starting
Well,
to
bless
understand
your
how it
mom for
works.
thinking that.
Yeah, and
Yeah.
and she sees all the other stuff that I'm doing too. So now it's kind of turning to her defending me to like my brothers now. So she's kind of getting on the understanding of it because she's been around me working in this industry long enough that she kind of gets it a bit more. Whereas my brothers, they don't get it. They're just some heteros that work in hetero jobs, you know.
Damn those hetero jobs.
It's like when I'm talking to.
I mean, they make money, but
they have a stable life.
yeah, they're married with kids.
Stability. Whatever.
Yeah, but it's the same with my friends when I tell them that I'm an actor, and they're like, "Oh my god, can you be in the next Crazy Rich Asians?" I'm like, "Sure."
Yeah, sure.
Yeah, like let me just
That's
call
easy.
someone. You
Yeah.
know? Like, what?
Oh man, no, that's always an interesting dynamic when you're the one friend out of all of your friends that's doing something within the arts.
Yeah.
And then it's like, yeah, I remember when I first started too, everybody was like, what are you doing, man? Like we got faith in you, but you know, there's other stuff that you could be doing, and all of a sudden,
Yeah.
you know, you land something that like, and that's all it really takes too, is them just seeing you on the screen, and they're like, oh shit,
Exactly.
they're actually really doing
but just
it.
because you're not on the screen doesn't mean you're not working and hustling. Like I have not had a day off in so long, but like just because you're not seeing me on the TV doesn't mean that I'm not working. I'm auditioning all the time. I'm writing. I'm constantly coming up with different projects and stuff. Stoning outfits.
Yeah.
Well, with that now, so what is rest like? Because you said you've been going for so long, where it's like, okay, cool. Now, what are your rest days like?
I have such a hard time relaxing. I feel like if I'm at home and I'm not doing anything, I should be doing something, you know? And I think that's partially our training, is because like when we were in school, it was go, go, go for like 12-hour days, 6 days a week. And so if I have time off, I feel like I should be hustling. I should be like sending my, you know, shit to somebody. I should be auditioning for something. But so I have a hard time just like allowing myself to relax until I take an edible. But I don't usually get high during the day, because then just the whole day gets away from me and I feel so tired and stuff. So like in the evening time, I can relax.
You know, those functioning weekends. I hate them, because it's like, I want to be high too, but I got work and shit to do first.
I can still work and stuff when I'm high, but it's after I come down from it, then I'm exhausted. And then I'm like, is it 11 p.m.? And it's like 4 o'clock. And I'm like, what?
Fair. What about you, Jessie? What's rest like for you?
I definitely have learned to build the rest and how I like to rest. Now I have a better idea of work-life balance, but up until I was 28, and Jared's turning 28. So you have time.
Yeah. Jessie's literally the model for my life. I just follow what she does, but 2 years later.
You'll get there.
Yeah.
But by age 28, I was so burnt out. And that's when we graduated from our theater school. And I took 6 weeks off, and I traveled with my mom, and I just tried to like relax as much as I could. But it was very hard to really let go. And I had to learn to do that. So it's a habit. So you have to learn how to decompress every day, as opposed to doing it like, okay, I am on vacation now, or like it's Saturday, now I can relax. It's more like, what can you do every day? So definitely I have a meditation practice that I do now, and I like to get some movement in, and it doesn't have to be exercise. Like sometimes just stretching for 15 to 20 minutes is huge, you know, and like we use our bodies a lot for our job. And so sometimes it's like, you know, you didn't do anything, but you had one audition and that already like messed up, you know, a part of your back or your neck or something. And it's like giving myself that, like getting into my body, and then meditation. And then I'm a huge TV watcher. So I watch a lot of TV, films as well, but mostly TV is my thing. And now that we have 100 million streaming services
and 100 seasons of Drag Race
and a lot of Drag Race, I can just watch TV to my heart's content.
So funny.
Yeah, that's mostly what I do. And obviously whenever I can, I try to be a little bit of social. Like I'm very introverted, but I make a bigger effort to try to see my friends and family. And
that's just what I was thinking. I'm like I live in this such gray area between extrovert and introvert.
Mm.
Everybody that meets me, they think that I am an extrovert because I'm a big personality. Like I'm bubbly, I laugh a lot, but like I love being alone. And I hate big crowds. I love getting home and just being able to like sit to myself and just be to myself. And if I can, but I have a hard time saying no. So like I often will do things when I just want to be at home doing nothing. But I also, on the other end of that, like if I'm sitting at home doing nothing for too long, then I start to get like, okay, now I'm getting stir crazy. So I like swing back and forth on that pendulum so much.
Yeah.
And if like now that, especially with COVID, like we haven't been in big crowds for so long, no, unless I'm there for a reason. Like when we went to the club recently for me to perform, that's fine. I'm there to do a thing and that's great. But I do not want to go just to go dancing. I used to put up with that before the pandemic. Like I'd be like, yeah, it's fine. I'll go dancing. I don't love it, but I'll do it. Now, no, I don't have time for shit that I don't want to do.
Solo dance parties in the living room or in your kitchen is where it's at.
I would much rather just have a couple friends over and get schmammed on my couch and do whatever the fuck we want than like go to a club. Unless I'm performing and making money. So I also just much more social and extroverted in drag too. That's a whole other thing. When I'm in drag, like I'll go around and talk to strangers. I don't care. But when I'm not in drag, no.
So then is it safe to say that you put a character on and like you?
That's what like, I definitely think that my drag it's not like a separate persona, but it's definitely an extension of myself. Gotcha. It's those parts of me that live inside of me all the time, but I don't access them in my everyday life. Gotcha. Sometimes by choice, sometimes because I don't need them. Like I don't live very like I like to be masculine in my everyday life to an extent, and then there's femininity in me as well. But when I'm in drag, it's like I'm much more feminine, and that lives within me, and that just brings a whole different energy to me and how I behave as a person. But
you're also a lot more direct.
Yeah.
When you're in drag, you feel like you don't need to be super polite or apologetic.
Yeah, because you live in it's drag.
Yeah, it's drag.
It's not personal,
so you
it's
just
drag.
like say shit, and then
it's true.
Fun.
It's true.
So you mentioned that you guys went to the same theater school in the same program. So I'm curious to know a story about the other person, an embarrassing story about the other person when they were in school.
Oh God. I feel like most of our embarrassing things probably happened together.
There's always the stories of like when Jarred and I knew we were gonna be good friends, kind of.
That's a good story. I just, when I think of embarrassing stories, I just automatically think of Taylor. She did a girl we went to school that did like she's just embarrassing all the time. But that's her character. But something embarrassing that either of us have been through. I mean, there was the time that I was not prepared for a project. That was embarrassing for me, but what did we get up to?
I feel like that doesn't say.
There's the time that you touched my dick.
I was gonna say, so there's two main stories about our relationship. One where we were doing Shakespeare monologues, and
please tell me that was where that dick incident happened.
Yeah, so we were doing monologue class.
To be or not to be.
And I was just cradling the balls. Actually, it was what's the name of that play?
Brutus and Cassius, is that show?
But is that
Julius Caesar?
Julius Caesar, that's the name of the play. I was playing Portia, who is married to Brutus. And so Jarred was my Brutus, and I was saying my monologue to Jarred. And at some point, my voice teacher she came into, my ear, and she whispered, you could use your other lips, the other lips to talk to your husband, to try to convince him to do it, whatever you're trying to get him to do. And I was like, I get that for sure. And so as I was talking to Jarred, I like got on my knees and started to unbuckle his belt and kind of sort of unzipped his pants, but I mostly just put my hand on his dick, and I was like, I think I'm too in character.
And the rest was history. We've been best friends ever since.
Jarred never said anything in the class though.
No, people best friends. Yeah. So
yeah.
But at the same time, that could have also went a very different way.
Yeah, like
Yeah.
if it wasn't Jarred, if it was a different person in my class, they probably would have been like, that was sexual assault.
That was very forward.
Yeah,
Safe
but we were
words.
already like friends, but
Yeah.
like that was just what cemented our friendship,
Yeah.
really.
Fair,
And then we
well
went
done.
on to sing "Baptize Me" together from Book of
Yes,
Mormon, and that
yeah.
was just like our whole friendship was basically just like sexual tension.
Yeah.
Amazing.
Because it'll never actually work.
But the what? What do you mean? It will never work. The semester before, I don't know. Wait, or was it our first semester? Do you remember when were doing the like jumping movement class thing? And Jarred was like throwing me in the air and then catching me. And
Wow.
Jarred was like, "Do you want to go a little bit higher this time?"
Well,
And I
the
was-
teacher told us to go higher.
and I was like, I'm a little scared of heights, but okay, let's try it. And then we did. And then when I came back down, I was like, oh, I think we went too far because my butthole just clenched. So the anus just tight. We went too far. That was my limit.
See, this is our friendship.
That's
And
amazing.
that's
Now,
we
I'm
were like, oh, we're gonna be good
I'm
friends.
curious to know how you believe the other person has grown.
Oh my God.
So much.
How did you go from perfect to more perfect, though?
That's fair.
That's a good question.
We're just gonna
That's
start
cool.
making out now.
Well, I mean, you started the studio having never performed before.
Mhm.
She was not an
Wow.
actor at all. And I
Now you're
didn't
writing
know that.
plays.
Yeah, exactly. And I had been doing theater and acting for so long, whereas like she just decided to change up her career path and finally go into performance. And so she
Wow.
did. And also when I met her, it was the second time that she was going into the program because the first time she had to leave and come back. It was the whole thing. So she was restarting into my class, which fate. So, I mean, I've watched you literally go from a person who's like, I've watched you act for your first time to now being like, not only are you like a talented performer and you're successful and you're booking lots of things, but like, you know what the fuck you're doing, like more than I do. You know? And so I don't know, I've literally watched her go from somebody who's not been in this world at all to taking over the world.
Yeah. Wow.
Yay.
And what about Jessie on Jarred's behalf?
I've seen Jarred go from like he was always again like had a lot of experience as an actor and as a singer, also doing drag, but just like seeing the growth in all of those aspects was incredible, and obviously still happens. And Jarred continuously surprises me with how much he grows and how much he deepens himself and like the vulnerability that he shows through his craft and all the different things that he does, from singing to drag to acting. But just Jarred as a person has grown so much. I think I met you when you were like 24, 25.
21.
Oh my
No.
God. What? You were 21? You were BB?
I think so. Yeah. 21 and 22. I'm pretty sure. We met in 2016.
Yeah. Wow.
Yeah.
Okay. Yeah. So I felt like you were, still figuring it out. Like,
Definitely.
Like the very kind of got out of high school and have had work. So I'm not like nothing immature, but like still having that whole thing of like not know how to adult yet kind of thing.
Well, and then also just figuring myself out as how I fit in the world as a queer person in theater school. And like all of that was like, I had no idea who I was really.
Yeah.
So, well, I did, but like it wasn't stable enough, to go into theater school, which made it difficult. But then I had to turn that around because I had to.
And just seeing how much like when the teachers would give you feedback or criticism, and how hard you would take that and how upset you would get, and now you are so much stronger, and it's just like, wow. That's growth right there. Yeah. And just seeing how you are in the world with everyone in your family and all of those things, it's just it's very special.
I agree.
But also for everyone listening, Jarred's single.
Yeah.
His number is
250.
So because Jessie, I remember, I think you mentioned you're not originally from Vancouver.
No.
Jarred, what about you? Are you originally
No,
Vancouver?
I'm a BC boy, but I'm from, well, I'm all over BC, really. I was born in Kamloops, and then I grew up between Terrace and Kelowna.
Gotcha.
So
Okay.
mostly in Kelowna, though.
Describe then what it is about, or why did you come to Vancouver? What is it about Vancouver that you thought this was the place to be?
It's less homophobic.
Yeah. Well, it was mostly like I wanted to go to school. And so I knew that studio was the place to go, and there wasn't really anything like that in Kelowna. And I just run out of opportunities in Kelowna. It's like even before I was considering school, like I was working at the same theater doing lots of shows from like 2010 to 2016, so like 6 years, which I loved doing, but I just was like, I'm not really growing anymore. And I've kind of plateaued. And so I was like, now I need to get professional training. Like I took some time out of high school to work and to explore who I wanted to be as an artist. And then I was like, okay, I've done that. I'm pretty secure of that part. And now I need to get the professional training. Yeah. So I wanted to come to Vancouver and do that. And then I just was like, I'm never going to move back to Kelowna because there's just nothing there for me. Like if I went back for an opportunity, that would be great. But like, there's just nothing there as far as theater that I want to be doing and the work that I want to be creating, the type of people that I want to be around. That's not there. And I mean, I have like some family and some friends in Kelowna, but like, even when I was there beforehand, I didn't like my best friend and I in Kelowna, we wouldn't like regularly hang out with a lot of other people. And that's just kind of the way that Kelowna is. Whereas now, like having gone through theater school, like I made so many more friends that were more like-minded and that understood me and what I do and everything. And so it's just, I would never leave Vancouver. And if I did, it would be to go somewhere bigger.
Yeah, makes sense.
Yeah.
Makes sense.
Mm-hmm.
Semi-high thought, because I was also thinking about this before too, and Jessie mentioned it, where it was like, especially when you started off and you were 21, you're trying to figure out how to adult and stuff. How crazy is it that nobody knows what the fuck adulting is?
Oh my gosh.
And it's like I had that first thought where it was like, yeah, it's crazy that none of my friends really know what's going on and how to adult. And then it just put me in perspective earlier on this week where it was like, now I finally get a particular part of my parents that I didn't really understand before, because they didn't know what the fuck was going on either.
Mm-hmm.
Oh,
right?
yeah.
Mm-hmm.
What was
Javi,
what was it like then with that, where coming to that realization for you guys where it's like, this is normal, nobody knows what the fuck's happening?
Mm-hmm. Yeah, it's funny you say that, because I don't know about you guys, but I had the age like in my head of like, oh, when I'm this age, I'm gonna be an adult kind of thing. Did you have that, Javi?
Yeah.
Yeah. What was your age?
I want to say when I was growing up, all I know is it wasn't specifically the age I knew I was going to be an adult, but I was going to have adult things. When I was in my teens, I thought by the time I was 25, I was going to have a stable job, a house, and 2 kids.
2 kids?
Yeah.
Wow.
Yeah, I thought that I would have been married to a woman with children by 27. Well, there's 3 days left until I'm 28. You want to get things going?
There's still time, baby. I'm right here.
Oh, man. No, that's
but
fair.
yeah, I mean, and I spent 3 years writing a play about my mom's life, like her childhood and then her subsequent adulthood and how that was affected by her childhood. And so just doing that like opened my eyes up so much more to who my mom is as a person and why she's the way that she is and why I'm the way that I am. Mm-hmm. Because holy shit, like I just got to see her entire, like I always knew about her life and everything that's happened in her life, but like I got to take actual court documents and interviews that were verbatim and read them and write a play about it and dissect her brain at any opportunity that as I was writing. So I really got to know her as a person and as a person outside of being my mom, you know? Mm-hmm. And that was like, for me, which made me realize that like parents and adults are just people and we're all just people. Like,
yeah. To
What
me,
about
it
you,
was
Jessie?
when I'm 28, I'm gonna be an adult, and the marriage and kids thing is gonna be at 32. For some reason, that was like the age. And then when I got to 29. It wasn't 30, it was 29, because that's when my mom had me. That's when I went, what the fuck? She had 2 kids by this point.
Wow.
She was already like, she
And a
had
house
been,
probably.
yeah, she had been married to my dad for a couple of years. She had my sister and I, and my mom, her first pregnancy, she lost the child. So I was like, at this point, I would have been like pregnant 3 times if I was her, and like had 2 kids under the age of 5, and, you know, trying to like start a career. Cause at that point, my mom was not just, but like, you know, in her head, she's like, I'm just a housewife, you know, kind of thing. And so that really mind fucked me to think at 29 that I would be having my second child. And then after the child being like, okay, now I'm going to start working and I'm going to be a career woman. Like that.
Well, and then
wild.
Seeing those people's lives change, like my parents did not stay together, and then my mom had another boyfriend for 10 years. That was my stepdad, and they didn't stay together. And now my mom is a single woman who's almost 60, and like she's kind of figuring out what that's going to look like for her. And I'm like, she's going through the exact same shit that I'm going through, man. And she's much older than me, you know. And then you lost your father, and then your mom was dating, and then your mom just broke up with this person because she deserves better at her age. And it's like, we're all,
that's exactly. And for sure, I will say that going to therapy was the one thing that really helped me, not necessarily like forgive my mom, because she obviously she always just did the best that she could where she was at, but we all have our childhood traumas, and therapy was definitely the thing where I was able to see her for who she is. And sometimes her anxiety or like whatever other mental health stuff that she might be going through, I can see that, as opposed to seeing my mom triggering me and doing things on purpose to annoy me kind of thing. It's like, oh, that's just my mom, and she never went to therapy. So sometimes her mental health gets the best of her. And now she's like projecting that onto me. And it's like so much easier to handle it now. It's so,
And it's very interesting to see, like, I've experienced the exact same thing with my mom. Like, I completely understand her mental health, and I think she has a good understanding of mine. And I have 2 other brothers who just haven't really dealt with any of that kind of stuff. And so they, you know, they don't know her as well as I do in terms like that, because I wrote the play and everything. And so now it's like, I can see the way that like they see her versus the way that I see her, and like how much more I understand her. And it's like, I feel like I'm actually pretty blessed to have that, which is like, I just have such more of a personal relationship and a friendship with my mom now, which is so special.
Yeah, no, that's beautiful. But yeah, to wrap that thought up, like it's just it's fascinating where there's no formula in a sense, where looking at school and the way school is structured, it's like, okay, cool, if you want to get a master's in this, you study this, and then you get your master's. Where it's like in adulting, it's like there's no checklist of you've got to get this, and yeah, it's just something that is I'm only now coming to realize. But Jessie, you mentioned interesting point of therapy. For the both of you, what was it like understanding that therapy was necessary, especially as an artist?
Yeah. For me, it was towards the end of theater school, where when we were talking about, you know, how do you relax kind of thing, I became the person where, to decompress, I started having a glass of wine when I would come home. And it got to a point where I was doing that every day. And then at some point I felt like I couldn't decompress anymore without my 1 glass of wine. And that's when I realized, like, not, you know, it's like an alcoholic behavior. I'm not an alcoholic. I don't need it to function. But I was like, I should be able to sit by myself at home without needing the alcohol to feel better. And that's when I was like, also because then I started noticing by the time I was like 28, that there were a lot of patterns that I was repeating in my life, including dating people that were not healthy for me, being in dysfunctional relationships, and being like a huge people pleaser, and not being able to use my voice to like ask for what I needed and what I wanted and set boundaries and all those things. Like none of that. I couldn't do any of that by then. And I couldn't understand why. Like logically, I could see the things that I should be doing. You know, I should eat healthy. I should exercise. I should tell people that they're being disrespectful, kind of thing. But I couldn't. And I just kept seeing myself repeating all these patterns, and I didn't understand why I was doing it. And that's when I was like, oh, I think I need therapy, because then I dealt with depression a lot, and I could feel like every time the wave of depression would come back, it would be worse. And trigger warning to people who don't like to hear about things about depression. But yeah, there was a point when I was too overwhelmed in school that I resorted to my self-harming coping mechanism. And that's when I was like, oh, it's back. I haven't done this in literally 5 years. And I have no idea why self-harming is the only thing that makes me feel better. And I was like, okay, time for therapy. I don't think I can go on like this anymore.
Wow.
I mean, I can, but it's very destructive. Yeah.
But you knew that though, and that was a big step from the last time that was happening, because you also came and told me what you'd never done.
Yeah.
And like right away too. So
wow.
You knew what you needed to do, which is amazing. And that's kind of where I'm at. Because I went to therapy a couple years ago for like a couple months, because it was like I was in a really toxic friendship, and it was like just draining me, but it was really just a mirror for like so much of my life, and how like other relationships have been the same way. So I finally went to therapy, and I did it for like, I was continuing to do it, but then my therapist had to take a leave of absence. And then I didn't get her back. And I just never went back, because I was like, oh God, I don't want to start over again. And I also just kind of processed the rest of that situation myself. And then now, like, I can see like how beneficial it is, and the parts that did really help me. And I know that I need to get back to it. But like, I just can't afford it. That's all there is to it, really. And I also, like, the therapist that I had, I really felt like I was being given a lot of homework, which I don't work well in that way. And she was like, not necessarily I mean, I love to be given tangible things to do, but it just was like, there wasn't a lot of tangible things from it. And then I would have to like create lists and shit like that. And it just like, none of that felt like it was really helpful. And every time I would start, she'd always be like, okay, how are we feeling today on a 1 through 10? And I'm like, bitch, I just woke up. Like, I don't know. Like, and also like, I felt like every week I was like, oh my God, I said 7 last week. I have to be better or worse than a 7, like, So it felt much like more like a chore than it did like it was being beneficial for me. So it was interesting. And I think that just meant I just needed a different therapist, because I definitely could start to see the benefits of it when I was like accessing my childhood and figuring out where things stem from. Like, and because I'm a very structured person. And if you can tell me why my brain's doing the stupid things that it's doing, love that. I can fix it that way. Like if I get instructions, I'm not great at building IKEA furniture, but I can do that.
It's so important to get a therapist that gets you.
For sure. And I also would really like to have a queer therapist. I think she might have been a lesbian, but I wasn't sure. Right. But I would love to have a gay man that like just really understands like what I go through. So that's just something I need to do, and I just haven't done it.
And I tell people, I think therapy is important for everyone, but especially if you're an artist, because we have to access so much of our emotional
damage.
Emotional damage. We have so much. We have to put, our heart and soul so much into everything that we do. That it can be, it can feel unsafe, and I think that therapy is the one thing that is, if you want to be not necessarily a better artist, because I think that's, very relative, but an artist, that you will be able to do it consistently, do it for a long career, do it in a way that is healthy and safe for you, then definitely therapy is very helpful. And I think for actors specifically, I think that if you want to be better at your craft, you have to know yourself better. So it doesn't,
you can't expect to get to know yourself through the roles you're doing, and that to be your therapy.
Like you can't use acting as therapy. It can be therapeutic, but it's not therapy. And the more you know yourself, whether you use therapy or not, but the more you know yourself, the better you can act and access other parts of your personality and choose what you want to infuse your character with, as opposed to just like reacting in a way that, you know, and just being, I'm not criticism to method acting, sorry method actors out there, but yeah, I feel like it can be very unsafe if you just go into, you know, full method acting. Like you can see people that do that, you know, like Lady Gaga and stuff, that she just talks about how unwell she is for all the time when she's doing certain roles, and it's just like, yeah, do you want to do that to yourself? I don't think it's sustainable. Gaga has a lot of money to be able to use therapy and body workers and all these things to try to like make her feel better after all of that she puts in. And she has the ability to put in her contract that she needs a therapist on set to be there with her in case she feels like, you know, she's losing it. But it's I feel like, you know, for all of us, we can't have a therapist on set, on stage, just in case.
Respectfully with her is like, even though she's been an artist for a long time, she's only been an actor for a couple of years. So it's like she still has to also go on this journey of realizing that herself, that it's a different craft. She just thinks it's art is art is art, and it's like fair if that's how you feel, but yeah, you definitely need to go through, and kind of like the rejection talk that we were on earlier, where it's like you kind of have to do it every day and relearn it every experience. And she only has what, 2-3 acting credits to her name, so it's like she hasn't had that much practice with it. So hopefully, you know, she steps out of that. But yeah.
And if you like we know people that I feel like if you don't know yourself well enough and you're trying to like represent something or you have a message that you want to put out there, I don't know if you know that I'm a person that I'm thinking of, but it's just like you're mad at the world because you're not getting what you feel like you deserve because you don't know yourself well enough. Like if you're exploring your identity still, but you expect that you should get to do certain things because of who you are, like that's just an entitlement that like just never serve you in this industry. And then when you finally get the opportunities that you want, like you haven't been through the things you need to have gone through in order to like actually do it justice. So it's such a tricky situation, especially when you're training to be an actor. Like you have to be so sure of yourself. And that's why I'm so grateful that I like had time after I went out of like high school to go through life a bit before, because you need life experiences in order to be an actor. Like,
of course, with that, it's like there's this quote that kind of just stays with me and resonates with me, and it's why I do all the randomness that I do. But it's like actors are only as good as their experiences. So with that, like, experience life, do life, or worrying about
kill somebody.
Sometimes you just gotta
it's just for the project.
Exactly. Let's shoot some heroin right
now.
But like you have to be able to, like, obviously I've never killed somebody, but like you have to know what that feels like, and you have to pull that from something else that you know that could feel the same way. Or you just kill somebody and then just, you know,
just
with that too, like the disclaimer for people that are listening, no, don't kill somebody. You don't have to. But like when it comes to experience comes in many forms. So as simple as even watching somebody die on screen and understanding and empathizing with what's happening on the screen, as opposed to just watching it as sheer entertainment, is still a type of experience. So it's like, read a book, best place to, you know, really experience things in a different way as well.
Well, and also it's like you've probably lost a dog in your lifetime or something like that. You can take that experience and put that in it. Like it's the same thing. It's really the same thing. That's how I feel about it.
So through exploring artistry and then you guys developing the bond that you guys did, and the reason why I was happy to have the both of you is because you guys decided to also start a podcast and base it around being inebriated, which is why I was like, yeah, smoke up too. So tell me about the podcast experience.
I started it by myself at first, because like whenever I would get high, I would always send these guys really great voice notes, and it just became like a thing where they were like, you just need to like put these somewhere. And I started like saving my voice notes and shit, and then I was like, maybe I should just host a podcast, because I'm the most comfortable and the most funny and the most relaxed when I'm high. And I was like, and I don't really enjoy like interviews and stuff like that when like have forced conversation, hate it. But when I'm high, we're just shooting the shit. And so I was like, I guess I should start doing that. And so I started interviewing artists and different people of different walks of life and just chatting with them, really. And we had segments and stuff like that. It was very structured. It was lots of fun, and they didn't have to be high or anything, but like I was.
Gotcha.
And then by like episode 12, I was just getting burnt out because I was doing it all by myself. And like, it's a lot of energy to be the only person, chatting one-on-one. So it takes a lot of energy from you, and then all the editing and all that.
Well, and also because you were doing one episode a week.
Yeah. So
It's
I
a
just
lot
was
of
like,
work.
I knew that I wanted to restructure it a little bit in a way that would be more fun. And so I had invited Jessie to become my co-host, I think in episode 12, I think.
Nice.
And then from that point on, we did more like, we had guests, but we also did episodes where we just did topics, where we just like hung out and were ourselves.
Yeah.
And Jessie would drink sometimes and spill it on herself.
The spill was once, but the drink was every time.
So we got to 25 episodes, and I think like it was always like I kind of always knew that it was a pandemic project. Like I had hosted a podcast before that with a different friend for 40 something episodes, and it was lots of fun. But once life started to pick up again and we started getting busy and it started getting more difficult for us to get together and find a guest and everything, we decided that we would just go to 25 and wrap it up. So it was short and sweet, and I'm super proud of every episode.
It's still available.
And it's still everywhere. Yeah.
Yeah.
So you can still listen to it. It's called I've Been Thinking.
What's your favorite high moment on the podcast? And
well, there's a lot, but the first one that comes to mind is I can't remember which episode it was, but Jessie was wearing these avocado earrings.
That one too.
Jessie was wearing these avocado earrings, and the way that we would end every episode, we would say "THC you later." And this one time we were whispering it. Was it our ASMR episode or something? I don't know.
No, it's the Brazil one. That's why I was wearing avocado earrings.
And we were just like whispering it. And then she like leaned down and her avocado earrings hit the glass that was sitting next to us. And it just went dong dong. And it was perfectly in beat and in key with our outro. It was so funny. We had a lot.
There were so many
chaos
on that show.
We lost our entire footage so many times.
Or the audio completely. So many times.
Yeah. I got in drag for it twice too. And most of this was done in the summertime, in the fucking heat waves. So we were like recording in my bedroom, which was like 40 degrees, sweating. And we couldn't have fans on or anything because we had the mic.
I think some of my favorite segments was the one that we kind of sort of came up with later, because there's a Chinese liquor, kind of like a vodka, Chinese vodka that has my last name. It's called Gao Liang, so Liang, and we call it Liang juice. It tastes awful. It tastes like you're siphoning gasoline straight from a car and just drinking it. And it's so nasty, but then the game would be like, you either have to answer these really intense questions that are either embarrassing or just personal, like super personal or awful, or you have to take a shot. And some of the questions were things like, if you had to, like punch me in the face or like spit in Javi's face, who would you pick? And you have to pick, or you have to take a shot. And it's like, I don't
or it'd be
know.
questions like, which person in our graduating class do you think should not have graduated? Like they were really intense. We also had a couple like, we would just make them up. Yeah, we would make them intense ourselves.
It would be like, Jarred, I dare you to open your photo album right now and show me what's the first 3 photos on there. And probably one of them are like nudes.
Yeah. So. It was a good time. We also we just played lots of games and stuff. We had a couple episodes where we were like sponsored. We had this Brazilian company that imports like Brazilian foods into Vancouver. Yeah. They sponsored us for an episode. We did a whole episode of Brazil, and Jessie got to share all her culture with me, and we like did blindfold taste tests and stuff, and it was super fun. I was in drag for 2 of them. We did I had like some musicians and stuff on that I'm friends with, but like I'm super like I am in love with their art, so I'd have them on. And we had one friend play live for us.
Oh my gosh,
Nice.
yes, Teo.
Yeah, we had Mason
Excellent.
Temple from Ginny and Georgia on with us because he's a pal of ours. It
Mhm.
was a good time, and I miss it sometimes. Like I miss having that like weekly little outlet,
Yeah.
and a reason to get together. But it is a lot of work.
Yeah.
But I'm like, how can I get that same feeling still in my life? Like, what can I be doing to get that same feeling? So we made a music video.
Oh yeah. Everyone, tune into the EP lessons. by
Yeah,
Jarred Stephen
that's another
Meek.
thing that I did in my time when I'm not working is I made an EP and I just released 3 songs and a music
Wow.
video, and
Nice.
Jessie's in it.
Yeah, I'm one of the dancers.
Yeah,
Dream
it's a good
come
time.
true.
Do you have dance background then as well, Jessie?
I sure don't, but I
Oh.
love to dance. I like to do
Fair.
TikTok challenges.
That's fair. No. So it's like with that then, with your art, what other things do you branch off into? So it's like, Jesse, you said you started writing. Are you
Mhm.
guys also in the world of directing as well, or producing, or
We
editing?
hope to
How is
be
your
We're
editing
soon.
trying.
process?
We are
Hmm.
trying.
We
Yeah. So Jared and I both wrote plays, and we had both been selected for the Foreplay Festival at Studio 58 in 2020. And then our
Oh.
shows got canceled like a week before they opened because of the
Ah.
panini. But yeah, so like Jared and I both have written, I've written like 2 plays, I think now, but Jared has more for sure, and other projects like web series. And we like to make skits and sketches sometimes together. And then aside from that, like acting, and then I now in the last couple of years have been teaching workshops, like business workshops to actors. So next month I'm actually with Real Wheels. I'm teaching one day there, but I'm
This is news to me.
I probably forgot about it. And, that's why you don't know. Yeah, but I taught at Studio 58 a business workshop, and it's essentially just like all the businessy side of things, you know, like headshots and demo reels and how to pitch to an agent and how to email them and what to put on your resume.
Yeah.
Those kinds of informations that we usually learn in school. And then I'm doing that with Real Wheels next month as well. It's just one class, but that's another huge passion of mine. I love being able to coach and teach people.
Sweet.
And like it doesn't happen a lot because I've been working so much as an actor, which is, that it's like it's a blessing. I'm too busy to focus on my
Good problems. Good
entrepreneurial
problems.
side. Yeah, it's a good problem to have. But whenever anyone wants, any advice or coaching or anything like that, I'm more than happy to help people with their auditions or with their monologues. I do
Sweet.
it just like for fun because it's fun for me.
Yeah.
But if there's anyone who also like wants to hire me for their services, I'm more than happy to do that. I have an Etsy shop called Acting Expanded. That's a brand, it's Acting Expanded. And so my Etsy shop has a bunch of merch on there that I designed. So it's like stuff like that I like
Cool.
to do. And then Jared and I are hoping, fingers crossed, that we're gonna direct a show next year or maybe later
Nice.
this year, but for sure, if not this
Yeah.
year, maybe next year. We pitched to be co-directors of a Studio 58 project, and we're kind of waiting to talk to
Cool.
people and try to get that done.
They've told us
So-
everything but no. So
Yeah.
they're just like, we're waiting on a few more things to fall into place. We're going to talk with you soon. So we're just waiting to find out if we can do it or not.
Yeah.
Yeah.
I feel like that's the thing about being an artist that went through studio. It's like you kind of put your finger in every single pie and you kind of see if that's something that you like.
Yeah. Well, the main thing that I'm doing outside of like writing and acting and stuff is front of house work, because I was doing that when I was a student. You have to do front of house work, and then they hired me as the front of house manager after I graduated, and then and Jessie as well. And then I've been doing that ever since. But I also work at I work at like 5 different theaters right now doing front of house. But it's a good, like, it's a way to keep within the industry, and I'm still, it's like a Joe job, but it's in the industry. And through that, like, I make so many connections with so many different important people. I've already been offered an upgrade kind of at my current job. Like, it's like kind of like the department, another department poached me, you could say. I don't know how you describe it, but basically I got a better job. And I love doing that work. And I always tell the students that I have to manage at Studio 58 is that, like, doing this kind of work, it might feel boring and might not feel important, but like, I'm making so many connections and getting so many things out of this. And like, I enjoy doing it. It's a Joe job that I don't hate. And then just doing drag and my music and and writing. And what else do I do?
That's a good question. I feel like we do so much stuff that it's hard to keep track, like
Yeah.
how many different hats do you wear? Pretty much all of them.
Wow.
Yeah.
Are both of you equity or not yet?
No.
No, I don't have enough credits, I don't think. But like also the other huge thing that is very annoying, I'm not part of equity or UBCP because they don't let non-Canadian, non-permanent residents in.
Oh, wow.
So I am barred from joining UBCP. I think with equity, they've changed that rule, but that's a recent thing. Like, I think
Gotcha.
they've only started letting non-PR people into equity in the last year or two.
Yeah.
So, but now that doesn't really matter. I don't have that many credits anyway in theater.
But
I
so
have enough
then-
credits for UBCP, but
I just remembered I'm also teaching this summer.
oh yeah, Jarred's teaching. You
Sorry, that
also
just
did
came to
stage
me.
management at some point.
Oh, yeah,
so
that
like, yeah,
too.
so many things.
Anyways,
Um,
gone.
So not being a permanent resident then, like, what's the industry or how has the industry been like for you then? So you're not part of UBCP, but you're actor then, I'm assuming.
No, I'm not part of any unions
Oh, wow.
because they don't allow non-Canadians or non-PR
Mhm.
people to join. So I have a Canadian work permit, and I live and work in Vancouver. And if I were ever to work in the States, I would need like that O1 visa or
Yeah.
whatever that visa that they have in the States. And it's not been an issue up until very recently. So not I'm gonna call them out because they actually do that. Hallmark and Lifetime now they're producing movies that are like always call themselves like low budget movies because they're like under I don't know like $1 million or $5 million budget. So now they require people to have a CAVCO number. I don't know what that is, but it's like a number that you need to have to work for Lifetime and Hallmark if you're not Canadian or non-PR, but you can't have that if you aren't either of those things. So this is the first time that the industry has barred me from auditioning for them in Canada because I have a work permit. So I am allowed to work in Canada wherever I'm at. I just need to book things kind of thing. And so, yeah, if there's anything that I book and it's a union or an equity kind of thing, then I just pay my permit, which gets expensive. And UBCP has been very cruel to me a couple of times in the last couple of years.
Damn, because like you
yeah.
you were paying for your permit then for maid.
Oh my gosh, yeah.
Wow.
And I think they charged me $500-$600 every week that I worked.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Damn. So then I guess what's the
Yeah.
purpose? Yeah, like that's I'm shocked. And I've never encountered an actor who's doing that because the legal aspect of not having paperwork but you have a work permit, so it's like you can still do these projects, and yeah, that's just so confusing. So I guess is there anything that you're doing about it? Like, are you talking with customs, or who do you talk to fix this? Or
so I did my permanent residency application. It's kind of like applying for your green card in the States. So I did my PR application last year, and it was usually that application takes about 18 months, maybe 24 months to process, which is normal for the self-employed category because I'm an artist. However,
unless you were white.
Yeah, unless you're part of the Commonwealth. But with the pandemic, things have been slowing down at the IRCC, so the immigration offices here. And now it's saying that it will take 36 to 41 months. That means
holy shit,
3 years and something. So my lawyer is like, we're just going to wait until 2024 until you have your PR. And up until then, like, you just need to keep getting new work permits, which, it's just like, it's one of those, it's just bad timing. Because if I had applied maybe a year before, I would have gotten it in a year and a half. But because of what's going on, it's just like everything is delayed. And I think like because I've applied for my PR, I can definitely be part of equity. And I think UBCP, they request a specific type of document that you only get once you've already applied for your PR, but it can't just be like you applied. It has to be like you applied and the government says we are giving it to you, and then that's when you can join UBCP.
Wow.
So I'm not going to get that letter for another year or two.
Ah.
That's why I still haven't joined UBCP. And that's just like what they do to the whole thing about why they don't let PR or Canadians or non-Canadians to join is because there's a lot of Americans here. So what they're trying to do is to try to bar non-Canadians, so mostly Americans, but obviously people from, Australia or the UK and whatnot, other countries that have the working holiday visa. They're trying to bar these people from taking Canadian jobs. And I'm putting air quotes because it's not Canadian jobs. It's just like it's actors, and we already don't make a lot of money. So I don't understand them trying to protect these Canadian jobs. I think that if they could,
I'm Canadian, I ain't got no jobs.
Yeah, they should be making
there's no jobs anyways.
Like if they're trying to protect the crew and producers and directors, I understand, but with actors, I feel like it's such a hard, it's difficult. But that's their excuse, is that they're trying to make it so that only people that are serious about becoming Canadians are allowed to join the union.
Hello, you're the most serious there is.
Yeah, I've been here for 15 years. Please let me in.
Please give her the work.
But,
I'm offering mine. And like you getting work is like, as a non-Canadian, is not me as a Canadian not getting work. It's not related at all.
Yeah, I agree, but I UBCP is founded on these rules, and
it's founded on bullshit.
Yeah, even when you
sorry UBCP, love you.
Love you, please hire me. Yeah, but when I call them and I ask them, they don't really have answers. They're just like, that's just how the rules are. It's like, okay, well, you know that your rules suck, and they're like, oh well.
Yeah. Well, to think of how much money you could have been saving over the last few years, having not been paying those every time.
I do my taxes. I know how much I paid. It's thousands of dollars.
Yeah.
Oh my goodness. Damn.
Yeah.
Well, that's I hope, I wish you a speedy process for this, because those permits are a biatch. Oh man.
Mm-hmm.
But yeah, other than that, what's the most recent high thought you guys have had and shared, or a drunk thought for you, Jessie?
Ooh.
Oh my god, I should look at my notes.
Cher probably has notes on
or your like the voice notes that I send y'all. Like, what's the most recent, or what's the fun one that I've sent you guys? Oh, how about the time that I was
you made a rap?
Was that the time that I just said, oh my God, and then I just didn't say anything for like a good 20 seconds? I was like super, super high. Like the first time I got these edibles that I take now, I didn't realize how strong they were. And I was just like zooted. And I think I was making, I don't know, something that had butter in it. And I had put the whatever food it was in the microwave, and I was telling them that what I was making. I think it was when I made bagels and I cut them up and put butter on them like a psychopath. And then I was just like, guys, I was doing this, and I opened up the microwave and I just went, oh my God. And I didn't say anything for like a good 10, 20 seconds. And it was because for some reason, I put the lid of the butter into the microwave with the food. So it melted the lid of the butter everywhere. And I was like, just shocked.
Yeah.
But like a good high thought. I once wrote an entire like like poem. I don't know, a short story about being a cloud. It was actually really good. I found it recently, and I don't know where it is now, but it was. See, that's why one of the reasons I started that podcast, because I'm just so creative and hilarious when I'm high.
Yeah.
Oh man, that's so funny. And I think that's a great note to end on for this episode. But now I'm trying to find more guests to smoke up with as well, and I have another guest who came, and she actually joined me in my truck.
Oh, amazing.
And there's just a cloud, and it's like, the video doesn't even matter because it's just cloud. But
like that scene from Scooby-Doo.
Oh man. Other than that, again, thank y'all for coming out and for being patient as I was trying to log in.
Don't worry, we were
And,
running
Yeah.
late. It's so
We were
hairy.
also running. I'm Brazilian. I'm always late.
Yeah.
So this went.
Meanwhile, I was
perfect.
texting her like 4 hours before we needed to be here. Okay, what's the plan for today? Because
Oh
that's
my
me.
goodness.
I'm a very structured person. And she's like,
Fair.
I'm Brazilian.
Yeah, and I'm, my guests are from Mexico, so I was like, we're definitely gonna be a little bit late. We're
Oh, man.
Latinos.
Well,
Thanks, Javi.
bef-
This was so
yeah.
fun.
Yeah.
Thank you.
It was
Before
nice because I
we-
missed doing this on our podcast. So it
Yeah.
felt like
Oh,
we got to do
man.
that again.
Mhm.
Do you have like more drag stuff going on, Jared?
Yeah, probably. My drag Instagram is DeeDeeLaCraze, DeeDeeLaCraze.
Yeah.
And then my regular page is Hey It's Jared, Jarred.
Sweet.
And that's where I post most of my things I'm doing is on my Instagram.
Listen to
Sweet.
lessons, everyone.
Oh yeah, stream my EP lessons. It's available everywhere.
Yeah.
Apple Music, Spotify, whatever you listen to. Jarred Stephen Meek.
Lovely. Awesome. Well, yeah. If you guys are bored later on next week, grab a drink, smoke in person. I don't know.
Yeah.
Are you
Let's
back
make-
in Canada already?
Yes, this is my
Yay.
first episode back in Vancouver.
Nice.
How was San Francisco?
A very interesting learning experience.
Oh.
Oh,
yeah.
okay.
Because it was a lot of waiting because I just wanted to get back to Vancouver and start getting back to work and stuff. But then it's like I still had a few meetings that I had to do down there. And I was just like, okay, I just gotta get through the day, just day at a time. And even
Yeah.
though I knew like patience was already a learning lesson with this whole lifestyle, where that extra bit of patience where it's like even though you're in a vehicle and you can go wherever, like nope, you can't go anywhere yet. So it just taught me to just really be still and just live in that day, and yeah, day at a time. That was like the big lesson from that. But other than that, San Francisco was San Francisco. It's always a fun time. It's I was surprised at how windy it was. I don't remember it being that windy. So that was also another
I mean, I
revelation.
guess it's surrounded by ocean.
Well, like
Lots of wind comes
There's
out
so
the
many
ocean.
hills, though.
there's so many hills, and
True.
the thought that I had was like, how windy is Chicago? Because if that's the windy city, what the hell? Because San Francisco is windy as fuck.
Damn.
Yeah.
I love
But
San Francisco. I've
yeah,
been once.
again, check them out. I'll put their socials and everything in the descriptions. Follow them on
Yay.
Instagram.
Yeah, do you have anything
and-
coming up?
I can't say.
She has
my
things. She has
my
things.
agent said you can't tell people. So what I can say is I'm in a new series that everyone will get to watch soon. That's all I
Exciting.
can say.
Sweet. Fair.
But yeah, people should watch Maid because both Javi and I are in it. Yeah.
We kick ass. We're obviously the reason why Margaret's getting all of those awards. Like it's
Oh my
it's
gosh.
the only thing that makes sense.
Yeah. Yeah. If
But
it weren't
yes.
for our characters.
Oh, of course. Oh my God. So many people like were with the scenes that I had. They're like, "You're a dick." It's like,
Thanks.
thanks. I guess I'll accept that as a compliment to my acting.
Now I
Yeah.
have to go watch the whole thing, not just Jessie's scenes.
But that's the best. Like all of my friends that I grew up with, so my friends from Brazil, they were like, "Wow, I hated you." And I was like, "Oh, thanks. I did my job then."
Legit. Oh my goodness.
Yeah.
But everybody, again, thank y'all for tuning in. The Play On Foundation presents the 2 Degrees podcast. Check out Play On Foundation, www.letsplayon.org for more information on how to join the fight to be part of neurological research in brain aneurysm development and prevention. I'm surprised I got that considering I'm a little high. Just that whole blurb. But thank y'all for coming
You
out
did well.
and mag-ingat kayo.